Hey, what you reading for?
Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk about books, literary, horror, classics, and contemporary. Today I'm going to tell you about an excellent little book slash novella, A Short Stay in Hell. And because this book is based on or inspired by a short story from the collection Ficciones by Jorge Luis Borges, which I think is probably the best short story collection ever written. I'm going to take the opportunity with this video to talk a bit about that collection as well. So please do hit that like button if you're new here and books are your thing, or you're just here for the eye candy. Regardless, maybe consider subscribing. The growth really helps this channel and it is greatly appreciated. I will run a short intro sequence and I will see you on the other side to talk about what happens when Mormons go to hell. A Short Stay in Hell was written by Stephen L. Peck, and it came out in 2011. I first heard of this book thanks to fellow booktuber Cliff's Dark Gems, and I will leave a link in the description box to his channel for you to check out. And he raved about this book, so it went on my radar. And then a few months later, a viewer of this channel left me a comment telling me how much they really enjoyed this book. So it went from on my radar to I have to get it and read it immediately, which I did, and I really liked it. I had never heard of this writer before, Stephen L. Peck. He writes books that are generally geared towards Mormon readers. I am a reader, but I am not a Mormon reader. In fact, I know very little about Mormonism. Everything I know about Mormonism, I learned from South Park. I know that it is a religion, which is enough information for me to stay very far away from it. I have no interest in religion. I've been living in Riga, Latvia for 2 months now, and already 3 times since I've been here, I have seen Mormon missionaries walking down the street, trying to start conversations with people. Maybe once or twice in the decades I lived in France, I saw Mormon missionaries. And once in the 5 years I lived in Budapest, I saw Mormon missionaries. But here, for some reason, in Latvia, 2 months, and already I've seen them 3 times. And in each time I saw them, I did not stop to have a conversation with them, even though they politely asked, because each time I was in a hurry to not have a conversation about religion. But then I read this book, A Short Stay in Hell, so they got to me eventually, didn't they? Let's talk about the writer of this book, Stephen L. Peck. All of his books, including A Short Stay in Hell, all of them are highly rated on Goodreads. They all have at least a 4-point-something star, aggregate star rating. Some of the titles include The Scholar of Moab, which appears to be some kind of Mormon sci-fi Western hybrid. You know, one of those, right? He also wrote Evolving Faith, Wanderings of a Mormon Biologist, which appears to be a collection of essays that talk about juggling faith and science. He also wrote Wandering Realities, Mormonish short fiction. He has other novels and short story collections that blend Mormonism and science fiction, in case those aren't redundant. Who is Stephen L. Peck? Well, according to my research, Stephen L. Peck is 68 years old. He is or was a professor of biology at Brigham Young University, which is a Mormon university in the state of Utah. He has won many Mormon literary awards, and he has been described as the most important Mormon fiction writer producing today. I'll be honest, if I had known that A Short Stay in Hell was a work of Mormon fiction, I would not have read it. But I didn't know. That's something that Cliff Stark Gems didn't tell us about in his video. Or maybe did, but I don't recall that. So I didn't know, and I just heard that it was amazing. So I read it, and I'm very glad that I did, because yes, I thought it was amazing too. Even though it's loosely classified as Mormon fiction, there is no preaching at all going on in this book, which was nice. What is this book about? Well, a Mormon goes to hell, which turns out is not at all like Utah. In fact, the hell that he goes to is very different from the hell that his religion had led him to believe exists. So he goes through some kind of a crisis of faith. Is God testing him, right? And this part of the book was quite interesting. He's being confronted with reality, and then he goes through this mental gymnastics to avoid acknowledging this reality, right? What I call Mondays. And I found all of that very interesting. Mormons don't drink caffeine or alcohol. So while this man is in hell, he is a Mormon, he's having a crisis of faith, and in this hell he can eat and drink whatever he wants. But still it doesn't feel right for him to drink caffeine or alcohol. Even though he has this crisis of faith and he intellectually has separated himself from his faith, it's still, his faith still served to form his identity, to make him who he is. So he's just not comfortable drinking caffeine or alcohol, which I found quite interesting as well, right? It was much harder for him to shake that part of his identity than it was to shake the intellectual aspect of his faith. Hell in this book is based on a short story by Jorge Luis Borges called The Library of Babel, which is a short story featured in the masterpiece collection Ficciones. In this story, the Library of Babel, the universe is comprised of a library, and every book in this library is 410 pages, and each is a variation of 25 characters, 22 letters of the alphabet, plus a comma, period, and space. So in A Short Story in Hell, the Library of Babel is hell, where the people who are in hell, not for eternity, but they are there until they find the book that describes their life. So most of the books that they discover are just gibberish, but every few decades or so, someone comes across a book that has a few words or even a phrase that makes some kind of sense. That is a major revelation for them. So the chances of finding the book that describes your life in a library of that size, or the chances of finding any book that is coherent in any way, quite extraordinary. It will not take you an eternity to find that book, but it might as well be an eternity because it's going to be a long, long time. Every day, the people wake up to find that all the books have been put back in their place. Whatever physical ailments or even death that they encountered, it has been undone. So it is nearly impossible to build anything or develop anything, because every day everything starts over again. And what this does to the psyche of the individuals in hell, I found that super interesting. There are a few scenes of extreme violence, but this book is not, it's not what I would consider a horror book. It's not horror at all. It's more science fiction-y, philosophy-ish fiction, literary, but not horror. And it's not, with the exception of a few scenes, it's not really that violent either. or gory. I thought it was great. I highly recommend checking out A Short Stay in Hell. I also cannot recommend highly enough checking out Ficciones by Jorge Luis Borges. Ficciones is as close to a must-read as I think exists. It is a collection of 13 short stories by the Argentinian writer Jorge Luis Borges, published in the 1950s. And since Borges was a librarian himself, the 13 short stories revolve around libraries, around books, around the impact of fiction, what fiction does to the consciousness, what it does to the human experience. For book lovers, it's a must-read. For literary scholars, it's obviously a must-read. Check it out if you haven't already. It is an important collection, maybe the most important short story collection ever written. I think A Short Stay in Hell does a great job paying homage to this important work. And I want to thank Cliff's Dark Gems and viewers of this channel for letting me know about it. I would not have come across it otherwise. Please let me know, what do you think? What do you think about Mormons going to hell? About this book? About Ficciones? Is Ficciones the most important short story collection ever written? Is it even possible to use superlatives like those in this context? I love connecting with you in the comment section. Thank you for watching. I'll see you at the next video.